संसारदावा नललीडलोका त्राणाय कारुण्य घन घना त्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभु कीर्तन नृत्य गीता वादित्रमाध्यान् मनसोरसेना रोमाञ्चकाम्पा श्रुतरङ्गबाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाना शृङ्गारतान्मान्दिरमर्जनादो युक्तश्च भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसाद स्वादन्न तृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतिक्षणा स्वाधनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयोनो रतिकेलिसिद्धाय यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्षात् अतिवल्लभास्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैरुक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव शब्दे किन्तु प्रभुर्यः प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्नगति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्स्तु वंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिसतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Shri Radhe. Jai Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshana. Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev,
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकाशिपूर्वक्षः शीलतङ्कानकालाये इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह कहे नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं चरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेणाकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो प्रह्लाद महाराज जयो प्रह्लाद महाराज जयो प्रह्लाद महाराज जयो प्रह्लाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिम्हा स्वामी की जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय
तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्ताय नमो नमः। वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्ताय नमो नमः। वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्ताय नमो नमः। वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
Mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavana. My desire to also grant me residence in the precious coast of Shiva and Vrindavana town. Thus within my vision I shall always behold the beautiful person Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the Karho Danso's virtue. Please give me the privileged devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for the propagation of holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Veda literature or to pursue the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious religious activities, often the Vedas are fruitive activities, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about God's holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as high trees who can fulfill everyone. They are full of compassion for fallen conditioned souls. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Jeto Darpanamarjanam Pavamahadavakni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chantrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipatam Purnamita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namagari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra pita niyamita smaranena kalaha etadishi tava kripa bhagavam mamapi turudevami disham yaha janina nuragaha trinatapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manatena kirtaniya sada harihi na thanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadishakamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishware Pavata Bhaktir Haituki Toi Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Pavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stitha Turi Satisham Vichintaya Nayanam Karadashuru Daraya Vatanam Kadgata Rudaya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Vapu Kada Tava Nama Grahane Bhavishati Yuga itam nimishena chakshusha pravisha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name ashrishava padaratam pinnashtumam adarshanam marmhatam karotuva yatha tatha va vidadatu lampato matprananatastu sa eva na paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam ki jai.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which you are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do you desire beautiful women, nor do you want any number of followers, and you only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. At some or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on in the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so. So even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me, he is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worship Lord unconditionally. Sri Chaitanya Sistastakam. श्री गुरु प्रणाम प्रेयर्स की जय. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्ता सरस्वती इति नामिने. श्रीवर्षभानवी देवी दयितया कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञानदायिने प्रभवे नमः. मधुरोज्ज्वलप्रेमाद्या श्रीरूपनुगा भक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्तिविग्रहाय नमोस्तुते. नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनतारिणे रूपनुगा विरूपसिद्धान्तद्वन्द्वहारिणे. नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसम्बोधे पदम्बुजयते नमः. नमो भक्तविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपनुगवराहयते. गौरविर्भवभूमे स्वं निर्देश सज्जनाप्रिय वैष्णव सर्वभूमा श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरे त्विषे नमः. पंचतत्वकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यां नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते. जयतं सुरतो पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदं भुजौ राधामदनमोहनौ. दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पाद्रुमदा श्रीमद्रत्नागरा सिंहासनास्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ प्रेस्ताल्भिः सेव्यमानौ स्वरामि. श्रीमान् रसरसरम्भी वंशीवततस्थिता घर्षन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथास्त्रियस्तु न. तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
श्री ब्रह्म समिति की जय. ईश्वरा परमा कृष्ण Karanam Chintamani Prakarasatma Sukalpa Riksha Lakshavritesa Surabhirabhipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasrasata Sambrahma Sevimano Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Mainam Kwanantam Arvinda Dalaya Taksham Varhavatam Samastam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Visesha Sobam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Lola Chandra Kalasat Manamali Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shamanti Bangalalita Nipakasas Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yashi Sakalanji Vitimanti Basmanti Santi Ancha Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jwala Vikrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dvaitam Achyutam Anadi Mananta Rupam Adhyam Purana Purusham Naviyovana Chaya Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Vakto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamya Vayora Tapi Manasamuni Pungamanam Sirpyasti Yat Praparisimya Vichinti Tatve Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagaranda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagaranda Chayanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Baba Babita Dio Manajastaiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanyalbusa Suktarya Meva Nigamai Pratashtavanti Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasapati Babita Vistabirya Eva Nijirupa Kalavi Goloka Eva Satakilatma Bhuta Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochana in Santaksadeva Hidesa Vilokanti Yam Sham Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Minitistan Anavatar Makarod Bhuvanastintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramamyo Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Go ahead.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of the transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning, and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him and is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men, who are imbued with devotion, sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamasundara, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today we're going to read Dhananjay, did you change the cartridge? Yeah, I need something to be printed out. Okay, so we're going to read again text 16. Dva vimal purusho loke sharaschak shara evacha shara sarvani bhutani kutasto shara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. So, do you know what fallible and infallible means? You know? No? Okay. You know? Fallible means you make mistakes. Infallible means you never make mistakes. So it's important to understand the meanings of these words, otherwise you can't understand the verses. So everybody in the material world is fallible. We're making mistakes all the time. And everyone in the spiritual world is infallible, and they never make mistakes. That's what happens when you go back to Godhead. You become free even here of making mistakes, because you only do what is pleasing to Krishna. When you do things that are pleasing to yourself or to other people, you invariably make mistakes, and it gets you into trouble. And just like one of the richest men in the world, who owns Fox News and a lot of newspapers, he just lost a case in court, and he has to pay close to $1 billion. Okay, that's right. Don't move. And there's also, but this person has another case also where he could lose more than $2 billion. So, we see how even though some of the so-called most intelligent people in the world make mistakes, and they have to pay for it. Okay, so in the purport it says, as already explained, the Lord, in his incarnation as Vyasadeva, compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities, who are innumerable, can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. Now there should be, the red light should be on, because I wanted something to be printed. Okay, good. Perfect. Yeah, can bring it to me, please. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhuta. And the Sanskrit words given here, Kshara Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. In other words, always agreeable with Krishna. It's only one page or 2 pages. Oh, 3. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Of course, in the spiritual world, there's no such thing as creation. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. According to the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are 2 classes of living entities. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in the world with the mind and the 5 senses have their material bodies which are changing. As long as the living entity is conditioned, his body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age. There is no birth. There is no death. There all exists in oneness. Kshara sarvani bhutani. Any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to the small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. So it's important to understand the meaning of fallible and infallible. You know what it means, Prabhu? Fallible and infallible.
Fallible who make mistakes.
Right. Infallible.
Who don't make mistakes.
Exactly right. Good. Okay, so this is a very interesting purport because it gives a lot of information of the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. We need to understand these things because without understanding these things, we would never really want to go to the spiritual world. We would just want to stay in the material world. Okay. So now I want to go back a little bit. We'll come back to this verse, but in the previous verse, we discussed something very important. And I want to go over that a little bit more. Let me see. We discussed interesting. Okay, so it's back in the 13th chapter. Let's see where that is. Oh, I'm going to have to come back to this. It's not here. I'm not seeing it. Let me see if I can. Okay. So if we go to the 13th chapter, 19th verse. Let's go to 18th verse. 13th chapter, 18th verse, and 19th verse. And we discussed this before, but I want to go over it a little bit more because to understand this is very important. It says, Jyotisam apitaj jyotis tamasa param uchyate jnanam gyayam jnanagamyam hridi sarvasya vistitam. He, meaning Krishna, is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. So Prabhupada discusses this in a lecture on Bhagavad Gita 13.1 and 2 in Paris, August 10th, 1973. And he says, Pakritim Purusam Chaiva Chetram Chetragyam Evacha Etad Veditum Itchan Chami Jnanam Gyayam Chakeshava. Bhagavad Gita 13.1 and 2. So Prabhupada says, this is the special prerogative of human being, that he can understand the nature, this cosmic manifestation, and the enjoyer of the nature. And he can be fully conversant about what is the object of knowledge, Gyayam. There are three things, Gyayam, Gyata, and Jnana. The object of knowledge, the knower, is called Gyata, and the object of knowledge is called Gyayam. And the process by which one can understand that is called Jnana, or knowledge. As soon as we speak of knowledge, there must be three things: the object of knowledge, the person who's trying to know, and the process by which the object of knowledge is achieved. Just like the materialist scientists, they are simply trying to know the prakriti, matter, but they do not know the purusha, the enjoyer. Prakriti means the enjoyed, and purusha means the enjoyer. Actually, enjoyer is Krishna. He's the original purusha. And every one of us, the living entities, and the prakriti, nature, everything is to be enjoyed by Krishna. That is Krishna's, well, it doesn't have a word there, but that is Krishna's prerogative. That is his, what you would call hereditary, or his right. Look at the word up, prerogative.
It's a right or privilege exclusive to a particular individual or class.
Exactly. That's it. So that's Krishna. He has the absolute right of being the enjoyer. We don't. We're actually prakriti, the enjoyed. But everyone is acting in the world like the enjoyer. There's where all the problem is. Just like the materialist scientists, they are simply trying to know the prakriti, but they do not know the purusha. Prakriti means the enjoyed, and purusha means the enjoyer. Actually, the enjoyer is Krishna. He is the original purusha. That would be admitted by Arjuna. Purusham sasvatam. You are the original enjoyer. So that's in this verse. Prakritim purusham chaiva. Krishna is the enjoyer, and every one of us living entities, and the prakriti, nature, everything is to be enjoyed by Krishna. That is Krishna's prerogative, or that is Krishna's right. Another purusha, we living entities, we are not purusha. We are also prakriti. We are to be enjoyed, but in this material condition, we are trying to be purusha, enjoyer. That means when the prakriti, or the living entities, wants to become purusha, that is material condition. If a woman tries to become a man, as that is unnatural. Similarly, when the living entities, who is by nature to be enjoyed. So he didn't finish the sentence. Who is by nature to be enjoyed. Right? The example, as we have given several times, that this finger captures some nice food stuff. But actually, the fingers are not enjoyer. The fingers can help the real enjoyer, namely all the parts of the body, all the limbs of the body. They feel satisfaction. So the enjoyer is the stomach, not any part of the body. There is a story in Hito Pradesha, from which the Aesop's fable is translated. There is a story. Udarendriyanam. Udara means this belly, and Indriya means the senses. There is a story. Udarendriyanam. The senses, all the senses meet together in a meeting, and they say that we are king senses. We are working. The leg said, yes, I am whole day, I am walking. The hand says, yes, I am working whole day. Whenever the body says, you come here and pick up the food, bringing things, cooking also. Then the eyes, they said that I am seeing. So every length of the body, they made a strike that no more are we going to work only for the stomach, who is eating only. We are all working, and this man or the stomach is eating only. Then the strike started, just like the capitalist and the worker. The worker undergoes strike, no more working. So all these limbs, parts of the body, they observe striking. And after 2-3 days, when again they met, they talked amongst themselves that, why are we becoming weak? We cannot work now. You see, the legs also said, yes, I am feeling weak. Hands also feeling weak. Everyone. So what is the cause? The cause? Then the stomach says, because I am not eating. If you want to remain strong, then you must give me something to eat. Otherwise. So I am the enjoyer, you are not enjoyer. You are to supply things for my enjoyment. That is your position. So they understood, yes, we cannot directly enjoy, it is not possible. So that's a story, right, using the senses. So has a particular name. There's what you call a fable. A fable is using animals or other things that are supposed to give you an idea of the behavior of people. The enjoyment must be through the stomach. You take one raskula, the fingers, you cannot enjoy. You give it to the mouth, and when it goes to the stomach, there is immediately energy. Not only the fingers enjoy, the eyes, all other parts, they feel satisfaction and strength also. Similarly, the real enjoyer is Krishna. Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram sridam sarvabhutanam gyatfamam santam richati. So he is the ultimate beneficiary of all tapasyas, all sacrifices. And he's the ultimate proprietor of everything in the entire universe. And he is the best friend of the living entity. And one who understands this about Krishna, they attain peace of mind and life. Okay, so we heard a quick summary of what is the object of knowledge, which is called Gyayam, what is the Jnanam, that is how to attain the knowledge, and then what is who is the enjoyer. Okay, so now let's talk about the object of knowledge, which is called Gyayam. So, if we read the purport of 1318, it says, Yeah, let's go to text 19. I'm sorry. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Purport. The Lord has described in summary the body, knowledge, and the knowable. The knowledge is of three things: the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing. Combined, these are called vijnana, or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be understood by the unalloyed devotees. I mean, that's devotees who are 100% engaged in Krishna consciousness, not 98%, not 50%, not 30%, not 10%, but 100% engaged. Perfect knowledge can be understood by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are unable to understand. The monists say that at the ultimate stage, these three items become one. But the devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and development of knowledge means understanding oneself in Krishna consciousness. We are being led by material consciousness. But as soon as we transfer all consciousness to Krishna's activities and realize that Krishna is everything, then we attain real knowledge. In other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfectly. In the 15th chapter, this will be very clearly explained. Now, to summarize, one may understand that verses 6 and 7, beginning from Mahabhutani and continuing through Chaitanya Dhriti, analyze the material elements and certain manifestations of the symptoms of life. These combine to form the body, or the field of activities. And verses 8 through 12, from Amanidvam through Tattvagyanartha Darshanam, describe the process of knowledge for understanding both types of knower of the field of activities, meaning Paramatma and Jivatma, namely the soul and the supersoul. Then verses 13 through 18, beginning from Anadi Mat Param and continuing through Hidi Sarvasya Vistitam, describe the soul and the supersoul, or the supreme soul. Thus, three items have been described: the field of activity, the body, the process of understanding, and both the soul and the supersoul. It is especially described here that only the unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. So, for these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. It is they who can attain the supreme goal, the nature of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. In other words, only devotees and not others can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the desired result. Well, see, now this is really important information because it's talking about how you can really understand Bhagavad Gita. Now, we're trying to understand Bhagavad Gita every day, right? But here is giving the secret, or the direct information. So the body is the place where you act, or the field of activity. And then how to develop knowledge, that is explained by the 20 points of knowledge. And then who is the actual enjoyer? Well, the Purusha, the real enjoyer, is Krishna. The false enjoyer is the Jiva. So, now, what does it mean, the object of knowledge? So, it says here, this is the special prerogative of human being, that he can understand the nature, his cosmic, this cosmic manifestation, and the enjoyer of the nature, and he can fully he can be fully conversant about what is the object of knowledge, Gyayam. There are three things, Gyayam, Gnata, and Jnana. The object of knowledge, the knower, is called Gyata. The object of knowledge, Kama. The knower is called Gyata, and the object of knowledge is called Gyayam. And the process by which one can understand, that is called Jnana, or knowledge. As soon as we speak of knowledge, there must be three things. The object of knowledge, the person who is trying to know, and the process by which the object of knowledge is achieved. Okay, so when we talk about object of knowledge, we're actually talking about the relationship we have with Krishna. That is the most important relationship. And do you see, even in other religions, Christianity, Islam, so forth, everyone's trying to, in those religions, is trying to understand their relationship with God. And they have different levels of understanding. Then there is knowledge, or the process of knowledge, and that is the 20 processes, beginning with humility. And then there is the enjoyer. Okay, so the enjoyer is not the jiva. The jiva is the false enjoyer. The real enjoyer is Krishna. And the process for developing knowledge is the 20 points of knowledge explained in verses 12 to 8 to 12 in the 13th chapter. So then the object of knowledge is understanding the activities that we perform in order to acquire knowledge, and basically, how we're using this body. If we use the body and the senses to engage them in Krishna's service, that is the object of knowledge. If we use the body for sense gratification, that is not the object of knowledge. That's the object of ignorance. So the objective is related to understanding our relationship with Krishna, or is understanding our relationship with Krishna. Then the process of knowledge is the 20 points, and then the enjoyer is Krishna himself. So we need to understand these three things. Obviously, ultimately, the object is devotional service, because that's how you build your relationship with Krishna. Okay, so now there's another point I wanted to discuss. We can come back to this if you have any questions. If you have any questions, you can ask them now. Okay, now there's another point I want to discuss. And this is a little bit different than what we're discussing now. And that is, it's very important. And 18th of October 1973, at that time he was a Maharaj. And he says, "Please accept my blessings, and I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated October 16th, 1973. And I have noted the contents carefully. Next time you come to India, you must come to Mayapur in March. Not only you, but many others. Our Bombay affairs are almost settled by 90%. The conveyance deed is prepared, and it will be signed within 1 or 2 days. Now, here comes the real body of the letter. Now, this displeasing of God, brothers, has already begun, and gives me too much agitation in my mind. Our Gaudiya Math people fought with one another after the demise of Guru Maharaj, but my disciples have already begun fighting even in my presence, so I am greatly concerned about it. Following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Suni Chena, Tararapi Saishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street, and one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. We must always remember this verse and be as tolerant as the tree as we execute the Krishna consciousness movement. Without this mentality, we cannot be successful. Material nature means dissension and disagreement, especially in this Kali Yuga. But for this Krishna consciousness movement, its success will depend on agreement, even though there are varieties of engagements. In the material world, there are varieties, but there is no agreement. In the spiritual world, there are varieties, but there is agreement. That is the difference. The materialist, without being able to adjust the varieties and the disagreements, makes everything zero. In other words, they destroy everything. They cannot come into agreement with varieties, but if we keep Krishna in the center, then there will be agreement in varieties. That is called unity in diversity. By the way, that's our theme of the One World, One Seattle. Unity and diversity. So now we're going to hear what that actually is. I am therefore suggesting that all of our men meet in Mayapur every year during the birth anniversary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. With all GBC and senior men present, we should discuss how to make unity in diversity. But if we fight on account of diversity, then it is simply the material platform. In other words, it's politics. Politics are friends and enemies. Please try to maintain the philosophy of unity in diversity. That will make our movement successful. One section of men have already gone out. Therefore, we must be very careful to maintain unity in diversity. And remember the story in Aesop's fables of the father of many children with the bundle of sticks. When the father asked his children to break the bundle of sticks wrapped in a bag, none of them could do it. But when they removed the sticks from the bag and tried one by one, the sticks were easily broken. So this is the strength in unity. If we are bunched up, we can never be broken. But when divided, then we become broken very easily. I hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So, what was the British strategy for invading and dominating India? It was divide and conquer. Open the sticks up and break them one by one. So today, nothing has changed. In our movement, even after all these years, like 50 years, more than 50 years, the devotees haven't understood unity and diversity. They love to argue. They love to have fights. They love to have sides. So, this is an extremely important point for a temple. If we have unity and diversity in the temple, that means everyone will cooperate. But we see sometimes that some people don't cooperate. Why? Because they're in Maya, they're nonsense, they're foolish, they're stupid. They are people who hear classes but don't follow anything. Right? And there are a bunch of people like that. Even though they're initiated, they don't understand what unity and diversity means. So here's an explanation, a wonderful explanation by Prabhupada. But in order to do that, you have to be humble. So anyone who refuses to cooperate, it's because they're not humble. They're puffed up with false ego, and they're chanting, and everything they do is useless. They're not making any spiritual advancement at all, and they're always in trouble. See? So here, Prabhupada says, Chanada pi sunichena tararapi saistana manina manidena kirtaniya sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. How many people understand this verse? I don't know. I don't think. I mean, you can recite it. That's not a problem. But actually understand it, because understanding means you follow what it means. So there are very few people who actually follow what this verse is saying. And because of that, there's arguments, there's disagreement, there's no oneness. Oneness doesn't mean you become a Mayavadi. Oneness means you agree with every point Krishna is teaching, and you cooperate. Okay, we'll talk some more about this in coming days. Are there any questions, either on the object of knowledge, the process of knowledge, and the real enjoyer, or about the unity and diversity, or any other question?
So Maharaj, when after, let's say, Prabhupada wrote this letter,
1973.
So was there
Yeah,
some
there
resolution to the problem? Like, in the sense, like, I don't know what the actual issue was, but
devotees were arguing, and some devotees left the movement.
Even after this particular
It's
letter.
happening now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about when Prabhupada was
It's
there.
never stopped. It has, and he says that every year all the senior men and all the GBCs should come to Mayapur and discuss unity and diversity. They never discuss it. I was on the GBC 28 years. I never heard any discussion about unity and diversity. And it's still going on today. There's a lot of arguing going on and people taking sides. But it happens even in his temple. So it's because people are not really serious about Krishna consciousness. When I say people, not everybody, but there are people that are not really serious about Krishna consciousness. They do it as a fad, or something, to have like a feather in your cap, But the real meaning is, well, you look at Rasavati, she just serves all the time, 24 hours a day. Is there anybody willing to give their son or daughter to be a full-time devotee 24 hours a day? No. Nobody. Zip. Zero. So, and Prabhupada was complaining about that when he was in India trying to start his movement. He went around and asked many families, he said, just give me one son, I would train him to be a pure devotee. Not one. All the people he asked, nobody gave him a son. So he comes to America, where the family, let's say, culture is not so strong, especially during the hippie period. And there he made a lot of disciples. But in India, he couldn't get one person to give him a son to train in Krishna consciousness. That's why he had to go to the United States. So when he came back from the United States to India with devotees, white-bodied devotees, then it was like it was a shock. And then they started making devotees in India. So these are all important things to discuss. All right, so we'll stop right there. Oh, gracious Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Maharaj, I just want to share one thing.
Yeah.
I met one guy from Puerto Rico on this Sunday.
Puerto Rico. Okay.
So I gave him the food truck in the prasad, and he said, he's a young guy, very pretty young guy. And he said, oh, Bhagavad Gita. I mean, he came first time, and he just said Bhagavad Gita. So I was surprised. I spent some time with him, like, how do you like? So he said that like maybe 10, 15 years back, he got the Bhagavad Gita book. Same book. He said I have read this book. I showed him the. So, and after 10, 15 years, again he is meeting. So he was so happy that okay, I was able to see the same book what I was in. Somehow that power of the book like it brings you back at certain point of your life.
Haribol.
That's one example. Second example, this Sunday we had a program in the temple, and in 1996, that one of the guy I met, uh, so I was talking to him, and he was revealing his thing, and he said that I was very happy to come here because he was also reading this book, Prabhupada's book, in 1996, and after like maybe 27 years, 25, 26 years, then he again somehow brought to the again interaction in this book, right? That's what he's saying that. So he was very happy and he wants to do everything like we follow. I also gave him this link to join the class. I'm not sure. I have to follow with him. But that guy, after 27 years, and he's going through his family issues, a lot of he's getting divorced.
Yeah.
He said, this is something what I'm looking for. And I told him, okay, why can't you just come? So he lives in Bellingham, but he's committed me to come every time Sunday because we need some volunteers. So he committed to come from Bellingham to Seattle food truck for every Sunday. So, and he bought, he purchased the book also, Bhagavad Gita that day. And he is very like positive and he said this is something what I was looking for in my life. And the way he came into this program is, he came 2 weeks back to some Sai Baba program in Bellevue, and he was looking for, okay, I'm coming all the way from Bellingham to here. Let me see, because he done with something like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Let me see if there's something other stuff going on around the area, because he has time. Then he just look around, and that flyer pop up, which has some. This Sunday we had like a lecture or program on the basically Tukaram Maharaj and this thing. So he came over, and then he saw that flyer, and he said, okay, let me go. But he realized that, oh, that's next week. Then he come back for that program only. But somehow he got into association of the other devotees, and he's really looking forward to move forward in this. Because he says, this is something I'm looking for 4 years. And he used to go to Canada or somewhere just to nearest temple. I said, okay, you can come over here, or it's too far for him, but still he wants to come. He's going to come and meet you maybe Saturday or Sunday. He said.
Yeah, okay. Good. Haribol. Preaching.
Yeah, but preaching and it somehow somewhere it come back. If you have some background, at certain point in life, he said, I forgot because of I think every time I get success, I forgot Krishna. This thing, and then I get some problems in my life. So every step, Krishna is trying to teach me that okay, you are going away, come back. And I think today is the day. I think I come back again. Krishna gave me some path. That's what he was telling me.
Mm.
After 26 years, he said, I have read this.
Well, better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how powerful Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is.
Yes. Yeah, that actually help us also to get more faith and convince that
Right.
okay, how powerful. I mean, I hear all the time that okay, Prabhupada's books are here, very powerful, these things. But get a personal experience unless you meet somebody like this.
Unless you go in Sankirtan
Yeah.
or
These two examples and consecutive, like these 2 days or 3 days, it happened with me. Like both the examples, they were reading this or came across this book like years back, and then after 10, 15 years, 20 years, again they come into contact with that.
Haribol. Okay.